Good morning, and every day we rise is a great day to be alive. I'm James Slim Overton, and welcome to Portsmouth Coffee Talks morning show, featuring the host and moderator, Thomas the Colonel Chapman, along with co-host Leah Drake Stiff. Good morning, people. How you doing?
Good morning, and good morning.
Can you believe September is almost gone?
It's hard to believe. Hard
Yes,
to believe.
the fall
But,
is
but
All is here.
before September leaves, tomorrow I hit the big 7-0.
Your
So
birthday. It's your
yes,
if
happy
birthday.
birthday.
It's your
if you
birthday.
don't see me, I'll be in the backyard turning flips.
Go ahead on, James. Turn those flips.
And then the next Wednesday, I'll be in the hospital. But anyway,
So how does
well,
it feel?
good morning, everybody. And we're here this morning. This is a host show this morning. And we have a sort of a theme. We'll tunnel vision of facts affect the election. And that, because we see a lot of people that are just like, know how they put blinders on horses so they can just look straight ahead and won't be distracted by anything else around them. Isn't that the way we see some of the people out here that
Oh,
may
yes.
be voting to the right? And we're going to talk about that this morning. And before we get started, I want to play one thing. Let people know that this is every day Mr. Trump says something, but now he's going in on the Jewish people.
Yes, yes.
There's no way that I should be getting 40% of the vote. I'm the one that's protecting you. All across our land, you've seen Jewish Americans harassed and attacked and terrorized by anti-Semites and Hamas sympathizers. If we don't win this election, Israel, in my opinion, within a period of 2 to 3 years, will cease to exist. It's going to be wiped out. That's what's going to happen. It's a tough thing to say, but what difference does it make from my standpoint? I have to tell you the truth, and maybe you'll be energized, because there's no way that I should be getting 40% of the vote. I'm the one that's protecting you. If I do win...
The first he said 29, then he said 40. But anyway, and he was at a Jewish event. When he said that, pretty much said he's the savior for the Jews. He's the Moses for the for the Jews.
Well, just as he says that he was the best president ever for Black folks, so he was our Abraham Lincoln. He was Moses for the Jews, Jewish folks. So
yes. Go ahead.
I guess he's the all in all for every group.
But if you listen to what he says, I am protecting you.
Exactly.
He makes it like he is the savior, and which is right. Doesn't understand the Constitution, one, that he wants to tear up, because there is a right of all Americans for peaceful protest, what he wants to take away as he rips up the Constitution. So there will be no more protests, because he will put the military, National Guard military, and put you in these concentration camps that he's already talked about. that he's going to institute. And so our freedoms are gone the day one he takes over. So we should be afraid. But there is a low bar for when we come to talking, discussing Trump. A very, very low bar. You look at his, some of the CNN, MSNBC, ABC. They're starting some of the news reporters are starting to tip their toes in the water, and they're talking about the word cognitive decline, meaning he is rapidly declining because of his, one is his age 78, and physically he's lost weight because he's on Ozempic and taking the weight loss drug. So you saw that his pouch, he's starting to lose his weight, but his cognitive decline, meaning his mental acuity, is sharply diminished from where he was, say, 8 years ago. And that's why you see him lashing out more and more and more. And he cannot string two sentences together or real thoughts together. Look at the, and you probably play this, and then I'm going to get ahead of you here, but look at when the young lady and doing his last town hall, and those are all props because he knows the questions ahead of time because his campaign gives the questions to the people that's supposed to be talking. When the lady asked him about how can you bring manufacturers or protect manufacturing of the auto industry in Detroit? Once again, he didn't answer the question, but he went on about the possibility of nuclear war. No mention what he's going to do for the auto industry or any policies to help anybody other than going off some tangent and what he calls the weave to answer that question, and not even getting close. So I'll say that for my opening speech there. Go ahead, Slim, because it looks like you got something right there.
Excuse me, guys. I just had an emergency call. I'm going to have to get off this morning. I will be watching on Facebook, but I have something that I really, really have to take care of this morning, and I'll get back with you all after the show is over. Okay?
Okay. All right. Take care of business.
Okay.
Take
Thank
care
you.
of business.
All right. Well, what I was going to say. Well, let me. This is another thing. It's different that he said. Hold on. You go back to it here. That might also support what you just said.
Correct her once, and they corrected me everything I said practically, and I think 9 times or 11 times, and the audience was absolutely, they went crazy, and the real, I thought it was, I walked off, I said, that was a great debate, I loved it. They didn't correct her once, and they corrected me everything I said practically, and I think 9 times or 11 times, and the audience was absolutely, they went crazy, and the real, I thought it was, I walked off, I said, that was a great debate, I loved it. They didn't correct her once, and they correct.
So
I think it's.
So he that was doing he was talking about the debate, and the audience went crazy, and there was no audience. So how could you forget that soon? But what I was going to say, Colonel, was with all the crazy things going on, even with the Robinson guy in North Carolina, and all the things J.D. Vance is saying, you got to wonder: are they in this for the win, or are they just going to ride it out and just prepare to steal it after the election? I mean, you already have now. It's just like the hand-picked Supreme Court justices they have. Now, in Atlanta, they have hand-picked election officials that are changing the rules, which some people say it might be illegal, but going to go back to a hand count. Now, and with all the technology we have, who would go back to a hand count? The only last time we saw that was, I think, it's during the Gore election when he contested for a little while. And in Florida, they had to hand count each of the ballots in order to make sure that they were correct. But that was years ago, over 20 years ago, and technology has advanced much more than that. But only hand count, only to slow down the certification, at least in that state. Which means she could win, but still not have enough electoral votes because Georgia hasn't certified, or maybe some other states too, that they have those people in place. So I mean, they acting like they're not out there to win with all the crazy things they're saying, the people they're offending, and things like that. And said, don't worry about it. After the election, we'll make sure. They're gonna either fight it in court or just hold it up to the point where where they can possibly steal it. I mean, because they're putting everything out with all the things they've been putting in place for the last 4 years, excuse me, leading up to this. You have to think that must be their plan, because they're not putting out any kind of, excuse me again, plans that would look like that they are serious, as Kamala said, serious about winning this election.
So to answer a question there, so when you talked about the state of Georgia, so actually the Trump and GOP has two plans. One, we already know that they're going to have a cap of 46 to 47% of the populace is going to vote for him, and that is his cap. And it is not enough to get over the hump, because you need to get higher than 47%. And then so now I concentrate on the electoral college and the blue wall, and just on the swing states, and Georgia being one of the swing states. But so if you look back at the legislation that they passed a couple years ago, and they went they passed that before the Republicans took over the House this last 2 years, which they haven't done anything. They did the Electoral Count Act. And so if they can't, which they planning to, don't certify, that means you take that number off that person's count. So that would theoretically drop Harris's time or count back. But they should have done also saying, we're going to drop this off the need of 270, which would have dropped it below, which would have been Mox Nix. And so there was no incentive to not have things certified. So the Republicans were smart on that way by doing that. And then so what they want to do is say, okay, you don't have enough, neither candidate has enough electoral votes to get to 270. And then we're going to kick it back to the House. And so even though Democrats may win the House back, but they have all these small districts, congressional districts in Texas and all these other across the country, and they have real small ones, and gives them more electoral votes, because that's who's going to vote for the next president, which would make Republicans vote Trump back in as the president of the United States. But the other thing too, if they do that, Kamala Harris will be the new vice president. I believe she'll be the vice president. And then so we just have to hope for his, if something happens, then we'll have a flip in the government. So they were smart to do it that way, and that's what they're planning. So the only way to get around this thing is to win this thing just by a landslide. If they have to throw Georgia out, which they're planning to, you already have backups to get the blue wall and other states to where Georgia didn't even count. We know they're going to steal it. Mm-hmm. And so that's the only way to do. You just have to win an electoral landslide. So all this nonsense will be thrown away. And the minute she comes in, Kamala Harris being the new president names her or president-elect put her cabinet together, get a real attorney general that will go after all of these jokers and charge them, and then make the suggestions that while they're waiting to be go to court, lock them up because they're a threat to society. They need to be jailed in, right away, and none of this whoopie toopy jail sentence. Rikers Island or somewhere else in a real jail so they can pay for their crimes. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think also a lot of this craziness is distraction because people in several states, they have to also pay attention to the congressional races that are going on, because even if Vice President Harris wins, we need that power in the House and the Senate in order for her to get anything done. You can't do all executive orders. So, with all the people paying attention to the top of the ticket, you can't let, what's going on in your states as far as your congressman, let that slide, let that ride. And you're not hearing a lot about that, nationally, but normally you wouldn't. But, in the states, I hope the states are really putting out, you're not even hearing. I'm not hearing a whole lot about Virginia. We know. Our congressmen are up. But you're not hearing a lot about it. So that's almost, well, just as important as us winning the White House, making sure we win these down all the way down to the localities. But as we talk about the tunnel vision, let me play something else here about his supporters.
Donald Trump's life has been in danger twice this election. Yes. Do you feel safe being in the same room as him?
Yes, I do.
Extremely safe.
I would take a bullet for Donald Trump.
What would stop you from coming to a Trump rally?
Nothing.
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 Nothing. Why are they trying to kill Donald Trump?
All the corruption in the government, he's going to take care of that. Evil always wants to stop good.
Because they are liars. Nobody can mess with Donald Trump because Jesus protects Donald Trump.
It must have been God that...
Donald Trump.
So if you hear people talking like that, that's crazy. And to your point, that he's going to have that 47% and probably be holding with that. But I just wanted to play that. It's just kind of it's baffling to us and a lot of other people how they're that 47% is even thinking, and what would they do if they lose the election? It's just kind of crazy, and I don't think social scientists can even figure this one out. They probably have to study it for another 10 years to figure out the mindset of these people following someone like that. But we already know in a cult situation that kind of thing happens. But this is not supposed to be a cult. It's supposed to be a democracy.
Well, it is simple, and you put it down and boil it down to the simplistic reasons. We know it's a cult, and the people that you just played on, and I believe I've seen the video with that, and you can look at, I hate to stereotype, but it is made up of a group, and his core supporters are came basically the non-educated, non-advanced educated, meaning they probably maybe have gotten a high school diploma, but not gone any further than that, and and are not consumer of real news. And they're on the lower end of the economic spectrum. And you can, even J.D. Vance has said this. And when he wrote his book, Hillbilly Elegy, his supporters are the trailer trash of America. Even J.D. Vance has said that.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has united the trailer trash of America, and that is his 45% of it. And then they also have that racial animus against anybody of color. So that's why you have a theme of the others. Just like Hitler went after all the doctors and lawyers, Jewish doctors and lawyers, and made them clean the streets with toothbrushes. He saw how that worked. Then he made them start wearing the little arm patches and went after the Jews and made them the others. And then, so he got away with that. And so said, then I'll go back. And so I am going to take care of the others by starting getting the concentration camps. Same thing as Trump is. He's got the playbook, Mein Kampf. And we'll start getting these concentration camps for the others, or rounding up the brown people, the Haitians and the Mexicans and anybody of color. And if you are of color, just because you are a Black American, don't think that you won't be rounded up too. And because you think that when you go to the store and the National Guard from Arkansas and Alabama, Mississippi rides through the city of Portsmouth and goes down to the Walmart and to the Farm Fresh and Kroger's, and all y'all out there shopping because you got that check, you know, you got to feed your families. You're rounded up and put on the bus. And because you don't have your passport and don't have your birth certificate on you, you're put on the bus and they take everything, all your stuff away, because it's you're allowed it. And so you're rounded up and put down and going to some gym, or actually, no, we'll make this even more personal. They've roped off Norcom High School football stadium, and with armed guards and barbed wire around it. And they put all the folks in Portsmouth down there, people of color. You have no ID. And so the buses come.
And down to the site to move our name.
Yeah, the buses come and take you over to the airport, and you're also on a plane headed to Nicaragua or Venezuela, dropped off with not a dime in your pocket, not a photo ID nowhere. What are you going to do?
Yeah, and speaking of that, we listen to the vice president here.
Will keep trying to pull us backward. We all remember what they did to tear families apart. And now they have pledged to carry out the largest deportation, a mass deportation in American history. Imagine what that would look like and what that would be. How's that going to happen? Massive raids? Massive detention camps? What are they talking about? And while we fight,
Exactly what you were saying. And I want to make it clear that, you know, we also
that when you talk about mass and deportation, just remember that these National Guarders and the police will have the right to fire. So if you flee, you're dead, because they have immunity on prosecution.
Yeah, and I just want to make it clear, even though we talk and we want democracy and we favor the Democrats and favor the vice president in her run, but we also realize that the Democrats also have some things they have to work, and we have to hold them accountable, and we will once they are in office as well. It's not like we have tunnel vision and blindly going along with everything they say. It's just a matter of, it makes more common sense, the way that they're campaigning, the way they're going, and their policies, which they are stating their policies, as opposed to, you know, the other side that's all they're doing is complaining and not doing any policies. But you know, none of them are perfect, and we have to hold them accountable. But it's just, if you hear us talking about the other side so much, it's just that they give us so much. They feed us so much food for thought to be able to talk about, and as well as the other side. But I just wanted to make that clear so people don't think that we're being hypocritical by talking about other people being blindly following somebody, and we're doing the same thing. No, we're not. We can be just as critical of the left and some of the policies and some of the things. At least they are laying policies out there for us to agree or disagree with.
Mm-hmm. Well, you talk about there was a news article, I think New York Times or whatever, up in New York, and talked about Vice President Harris's sort of bending some of her policies back from some of the progressive policies or liberal policies that she had when she was running for president 4 years ago. Well, look at Crazy Trump and what he has said just recently, and he'll spits out anything without any number. Well, I'm going to lower the capital gains tax from 22 to 21. We may go to 20. No statistics of how this is going to affect. I'm going to eliminate the SALT tax, which basically affects the cap on real estate, which really affects the northern blue states that doesn't have any really effect on the debtor states of the South and Republican and red states, because they don't pay their fair share in taxes anyway. What he said, I'm going to make the government pay for IVF. He is just putting things out there to tell you that 47% what you want to hear, or to get some of these undecided people that says, I can't vote for a black woman, and just boil it down to it. I can't vote for a black woman because of my own embedded racism. When I know what is right, I need to vote for this black woman, but I just can't get by. I hate Trump. I know what he's going to do. It might be the last time I get a chance to vote again, because my embedded racism I would rather vote for a dictator to be rather than vote for democracy and overlook things and look at the true policies that this woman has put forward. And just not in the races, the misogyny piece, because she's a woman. And even though she has real policies versus the other side has nothing. You have somebody younger. You have a 78-year mental declining senior that does nothing, and I wish they'd point this out, spent over 1/3 of his time of the 4 years he was in, 1/3 of the days that he was president, he was on the golf course.
Yeah.
And never got to work before 11, and always out of there by 2. And even then, that little 4-hour period, most of the time was watching TV. And so they had to make him appear that he was working by making these show things, come out and give the Medal of Honor, not the Medal of Honor, the Presidential Medal of Honor to his supporters, or sign these pardons to these crooks that supported me. Just make up stuff for him to do. And that's why they want him, because they can tell him what to do.
Yeah, but it makes you wonder, where are these guys? Where's Ted Cruz? Where's Mitch McConnell? Where's now Lindsey Graham is out there talking, but even if Lindsey Graham tries to make a suggestion to him, Trump will come back at him and eat him up. So all these staunch old good old boy Republicans got their head buried in the sand, and while a lot of common sense Republicans are forming alliances with Kamala Harris, and not agreeing with everything, but it just makes more sense to them, to support someone like her, in order to keep democracy going. And I think some of the people that don't know, they mix democracy with Democrats. And they think every time they hear democracy, they think about Democrats, and that's why they might be against it. I don't know. I'm just speculating on that. But all those boys that was talking and supporting him and doing all that, they just have no voice anymore. It's just Trump and Vance out there saying what they want to say. And speaking of people saying what they want to say, let's hear this person who's governor.
Not only do my kids serve as a permanent reminder of what's important, they also keep me humble. You can walk into a room like this where people cheer when you step onto the stage, and you might think for a second that you're kind of special. Then you go home and your kids remind you very quickly you're actually not that big of a deal. And ours are pretty good at it. So my kids keep me humble. Unfortunately, Kamala Harris doesn't have anything keeping her humble. You would think after 4 years of straight failure, she would know a little humility. Unfortunately, she doesn't. Not only do my kids serve as a permanent reminder of what's important.
Of course, the intentional mispronouncing of her name. In the beginning, it might have been a little, even we had, we were pronouncing it like we saw it in the English language. But it's been enough time where everybody knows, especially in someone who might be the governor of a state or in any kind of position, knows how to pronounce it now. So that's intentional. And to come after mothers like that, you insult a lot of people, being adopted, and one of the reasons I was adopted because my mother, couldn't have children. So, but couldn't have had a better mother or father, and especially with the mothers. And if you think about other people, that step parents that step in and do more in many cases than the birthright parents. So that's what makes me go back to my point making. Why would anybody make any kind of comments like that and in trying to win an election unless you know you have all these things in place to try to steal it, to take it away, even if it's done legitimately.
Yes.
It just makes no sense for her, as a woman to make a statement like that. It has to be people in her family that are step parents or step children or been adopted. And for her to make statements like that, I guess what Trump and Vance are doing out there gives her the license. But she was never good at that anyway, even as the White House secretary. She was one of the worst, and the governor, we know why and how she became governor of a state, because she had no experience there as well.
Well, yes, we have to take a grain of salt what Miss Piggy said. And Miss Piggy made that statement about Senator Vice President Harrison and being childless.
And she's not the only one that made that.
Yeah. And she's not the only one. And Miss Piggy, Governor Huckleberry, and I now mispronounce her name just like she wants it to make it go viral. Huckleby or Hucklebuck. They have a low. She told lies and everything else when she was the White House press secretary, and which is continued on. I applaud her because Miss Piggy, now that she's a governor and has got different healthcare standards down there, she is also on the Ozempic, and she is losing weight, trying to look presentable, but her mindset is still trashy. And so she has been installed in as the governor of Arkansas, who is one of the southern states that always leads the nation in or at the lower end for poverty, increased poverty, lack of education, lack of health care, lack of income, and all the other matrices across the country. Her state fights with Mississippi, Louisiana, and all that band of poor white states down there in the southern part of our country. And you have to ask, what have you done for your own people? Which she'll probably say, if she had a moment of truth, which she never has, is, I don't care about these people. I have power. I have a job. I can do anything I want to do because I am the governor of once great Arkansas. And these people will follow me. And they will never rise up because they're just, and they just don't, they will vote against their own well-being, and that's what they put in office all the time.
Yeah.
And they've been beat down so much that 70% of the population down there don't vote anyway. So they've given up power because they've been beaten down so much. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wanted to just out of I love this lady Crockett here. Let me hold on. Let me play a little something.
Hearing is because somebody got their feelings hurt in a debate, and I don't understand why we're wasting taxpayer dollars. Next time, tell your big boy to show up and be ready to handle the woman in the room who hopefully will become the next president of the United States. Nevertheless, while we do have two amazing authors from Project 2025, which it seems like everybody got the memo, like, yes, I'm gonna double down and say it's my thing, but I'm gonna make sure I also say that it ain't our homeboys thing, because we know that it doesn't poll very well with the American people, because the American people are woke enough to recognize that there is nothing good in it for them. And the final thing that I will say is that this election, I didn't ask you a question. The final thing that I will say is that this election is the best example of why y'all are so afraid of diversity, equity, and inclusion, because then you can't have a simple-minded, underqualified white man somehow end up ascending. Instead, you've got to pay attention to the qualified Black woman that is on the other side. And with that, I will yield. The only reason we're having this hearing is because
sometimes, it has to come from both sides,
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't just turn the other cheek. You have to come at them just like they come at you. And that's what Congresswoman Crockett from Texas does on a regular basis. And other times you hear her talk about how crazy some of these hearings are that they have. You don't see anything happening out of Congress about policy and doing things for the country. They just have these hearings. Anytime something comes up, they have these hearings and bring these people before them that just like the who was this John, was it Senator Kennedy?
Yeah.
Some of the things that he said to this to this Arab lady there, that is an American. It's just crazy. And why she was there, and some of these other people that are called before them, it just makes no sense. And it's a lot of nonsense and nothing being done. So that's why I go back to the part about you have to pay attention to your states and those congressional races and who you're going to put in there so you can get something done. We looked at 4 years of Trump when nothing was being done. And you can't say enough about how much was done during the Biden administration. And he's not finished yet without all the help he needed in Congress.
Well, you said a mouthful there, but we all know that racism is alive and well in this country. And we have mentioned some of the, today we've mentioned some of the worst purveyors of racism across this country, especially in the Senate and the House. And you mentioned Kennedy, a purveyor of a spreader and of that type of feverness. And you talk about McConnell and Cruz. Cruz is up for re-election this year. You can't go back and look at, so he's looking for his third time around, and you can't name not one thing that he has done while he was in the Senate. Not one.
And you think he'd be out talking about that now. Now, if he is, it's restricted to his state, but usually people of that kind of prominence or in the Senate, the national news will cover if they have anything to say. And up until this point, he was in the news every day.
Yeah.
But not giving us anything of substance. But he was in the news every day, and he was at a lot of these hearings. Because you notice when they go to a lot of these hearings, how many vacant seats are there.
Yeah.
I know it's not a full congressional; they're committees, but you see about 2 or 3 people sitting in there.
Mm-hmm.
At those committee hearings, and I know it's more assigned to those committees than that. So.
Yeah, and I wish that the people that are called on subpoenas and all that, I would love for them to subpoena me to come up there and talk, because I would not take that crap that Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, and none of them wannabe white supremacists. Jordan, and I'm calling them wannabe white supremacists, would say to me. They would all run just like Josh Hawley did on January 6th, run like a scared chicken, and he, crapping in his pants because they thought somebody was out. He thought somebody was going to kill him. So, and I'll go back. Let me go back to McConnell before I got this thing. McConnell, even though this might be his last time around, has done more to destroy the judicial branch than any senator in this country. And he should not be hailed as a hero or done anything good for this country, because he put more of those right-wing heritage supporting judges across this country. He put 2 illegal Supreme Court justices in office, stole one from Obama, and then stole one from Biden after RBG died. Got it through the confirmation, got Coney Barrett through the confirmation process in 2 weeks, and installed her when it should have, should not even have come up for a vote, but they had the votes in the Senate. And so if you look at the 3 votes, the 3 people that Trump had put in because they're recommended by the Heritage, which is committee or foundation, which is ultra right, ultra conservative, and anti-American, you can see that all of our rights, and I'm talking about black, white, brown, yellow, all of our rights are being taken away by this Supreme Court that is actually, it's not even highly, it's just political now. So they have a 6-3 political Supreme Court, and we are in trouble. And until that changes, meaning some of these jokers leave the bench and we have get the numbers back right, or Harris wins and we keep the Senate, and maybe if we have the gumption, the Democrats will expand the court to get it back in balance, or maybe we get lucky that Clarence Thomas and Alito leave the bench one way or the other. Then we might have some justice in this country. But we talk about rights. And right now, the discussion is on abortion rights, but the rights to just have regular old birth control is going to be taken away from America's women across this country. That is going to be down. It's going to be on the ballot. You talk about Loving versus state of Virginia for biracial marriages. That is on the ballot because they want the Heritage Foundation and these judges across the country want to take that away. And so if you were in a going back in the day when you're talking about taking us back, remember you can look at our history because they don't want you to look at history where a black man would be lynched for even looking at a white woman. They want to go back to that, take away that biracial piece. No mixing of the races anymore. That is coming to a station near you in the future if Trump comes back into office.
Yeah, and you also have to listen to some of the things he said. Even this weekend, he said if he's elected, abortion won't be an issue. Now, abortion will always be an issue because of what the Supreme Court did. You have all these ladies that are, some of them are dying because of some of the individual states, of what they're doing, and that's bad enough. Even though he said he wouldn't make a national ban, but that's one of the first things he would do once he got in there, because that's why he made the statement. You won't even have to worry about abortion, if he's elected. It won't be an issue because he'll make it a national ban.
Yeah, it's a national ban. Yeah, so the truth is behind the pudding. There is no, you have no right for abortion, and then so abortion is not everything. Just have been a healthcare provider, just for stillbirths and babies dying in utero, that you have to carry a dying baby, a dead baby in your body, and you have to wait to carry it to term before anything, and hopefully you can expel it at that time. Most of the time you will get septic and die. They don't care. But until some of these white women that run in these red states, and like Ted Cruz's wife or somebody else's highfalutin wives happen, then you'll see them get their health care right away. They'll find a way. But for the rest of the people, no.
I guess you can see Leah's not here, but she's here.
So Leah put out, they're not going to touch Loving versus state of Virginia because of Thomas will be impacted. But they'll do it for all future marriages and also contacts. So, yes.
Does she mean impacted or impeached?
Huh?
Does she mean impacted or impeached?
Well, impacted because Thomas has a wife, and so that won't touch them. They'll just say for further on past this date. It's like when they changed the age for Social Security. Everybody at this age will have to wait longer to get their Social Security. That's the same thing what they'll do with Loving and interracial marriages and stuff, interracial relationships after that. And then the other thing too is, they're on the LGBTQ population, and that will be outlawed. And they're going after them. So if you're safe, if you think you're safe, anybody of those persuasions, they'll have a separate but equal concentration camp for you. It is coming. He has already told you about these mass concentrations. So you'll have all across the country, millions and millions of people that are going to be divided. We'll all be running to try to stay away from the man in these concentration camps. But I ain't running nowhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, you better be careful. You might be mistaken for a Haitian.
Yes, but that's the
Just
last
like you mentioned
time.
earlier, you mentioned about others. Now they put a tag on it, Haitian, so, and in most cases, most people, I don't know how too many people, unless you hear the dialect, that can tell a Haitian from any other African American.
I'm the last one you want to put your hands on. I will say that. I am the last one. Unless you have a death wish, I am the last man that you should put your hands on.
Well, and you saying that, I think, I have something here that you might not want to mess with her.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun. I know that.
Yep.
And somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Lord have mercy, yes. Yes. Put your hands on me and the vice president. That's be easy. It ain't
Don't go in her house.
Yes. One headshot, one head, two in the chest, and you're down. There's no getting back up.
But anyway, that's it's going to be interesting. We still have how many days is it now? There's 44 or 43 days, which is still a long time. People are early voting now. The lines are all over. The first day of early voting, wherever they started, Virginia started on the 20th, and different for other states and some other states. So you can see the enthusiasm. Don't know which way it is, but I'm thinking a lot of it is the enthusiasm that the Vice President Harris has generated. But we can't take that for granted. We always have to realize it's going to be a close race, and we still have to get out there, get those guys off the couch, get those people to pay attention, to take the blinders off and see everything that's happening around you, not just what's being put in front of you, what's put in directly in front of you. And that's going to be the very important thing for all the voters out there, to make sure that they're taking it all in. And reading between the lines and listening to everything Trump says. Between some of the crazy things he's saying, he's dropping some nuggets in there. Some of it might be to his base, but some of it, if it's to his base, we need to hear and make sure, oh, okay, we already know what he's playing, but there's another piece of the puzzle that he's going to put in place if he's elected.
Yep. Well, you know what? And now that we're getting in, the sub 50s, we have to get people out to the vote and vote early, because if we wait to the 5th of November, that they're going to have all the shenanigans out there, closing the polls down early, or the machine won't work. There's one machine for 10,000 people voting, and you got lines for miles and miles back there in line, or they'll arrest you if I bring some water or some juice out there for to give to somebody who's been waiting in line for hours and hours, like they have in Georgia. Get out there and vote early and bank those votes. The churches, you have you give your scripture and pay for a bus to take folks down there and to vote. Go down to these areas that notoriously don't vote and give these some rides, saying, Miss Jones, Miss Smith, or whatever, and grab up those guys that aren't voting and saying, okay, I have given you a ride. We're going to take you down to the polls and vote, and make sure you bank these votes. And because it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. They think they're not going to be touched this next round. I'll make it. I've said it before. The elimination of all Pell Grants is at stake, because Project 2025 has said they want to eliminate Pell Grants. What do you think that's going to do to the HBCU schools and Black students? And because it affects them, it affects other kids, white kids too.
Yeah, especially with the enrollment being up throughout all the HBCUs now.
But all kids,
that would really hurt.
Like Marvin Gaye, the roads that were built affects everybody.
Yeah.
And so when they get rid of Pell Grants because they want to dumb down the educational system in this country by killing the elite colleges, meaning all colleges, so they can keep people dumb, and so they keep them in that bandwidth so they can vote for these Republicans. That's going to affect everybody. Those folks are getting public assistance for housing and heating and so on and so forth, meals during the summertime and winter times or whatever at school. All that is going to be eliminated. Not cut back, but eliminated. So I can give Elon Musk more tax breaks.
Yeah.
So stand if you will, and let this get by.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Colonel, as far as you encouraging people to vote early. Most people by this time, which way you're going to go on the state level. Now, even locally, most people will know that locally you might still be trying to figure out who, because there's so many candidates in so many cases. But if you've been paying attention to what's been happening locally, you should be able to do that as well. But I will give some of the people that are still trying to decide locally, more time to do that. But the people that on the national level, on the state level, with the Congress and the presidency, you should know. I mean, how much more do you have to hear? It's going to be more of the same, and it's going to get worse. It's going to be policies on one side and crazy rhetoric on the other side. So that's not going to change. So it's easy to make a intelligent choice, when it comes down to that. So, and just start paying attention locally so you'll know what you need to do, and you can do that early. You don't have to wait till election day. Who knows what's going to happen election day? Who knows what kind of threats might be outside of your precinct on election day that make you turn around and go back home.
Raining today, so I can't get my hair wet.
It might sound outlandish, but who knows what can happen. I mean, they're feeding these people. They're feeding them now, with enough energy to make them want to get out there and possibly stop people from voting.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's a possibility. And I can see that happening, and especially in some rural areas, where the sheriff might even be a part of it. So, and nothing against that on sheriffs as a whole, but you might have a few in some of these areas, even some of the larger areas that carry the bucket for Trump. So. Just get out there and do it. And the only way we can be convincing, and we've been talking about it, we just it had to be a landslide.
Yeah.
Even though it looks close now, we just have to make sure we do something like we did back in 2008 for Obama. You have to get out there. And it's even more so important now, because there's so much at stake there. Because all during that Obama 8 years, all these plans were being made up to this point. And they were still in the making when Trump was president. And then they just continued on when Biden was president. And then that's why they got that 900-page, Project 2025 out there. And that's all a combination of all those years of putting things together and putting it out there, which they plan on implementing if they have the opportunity.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about that. It's going to happen.
Yes. Well, they've already, the GOP has already come out and says, if Kamala Harris wins the presidency, they are going to pull the Obama and say, fight against everything that she wants to implement and to make her a lame duck president from day one. So that's why we have to vote up and down the ballot to elect Democrats so the agenda can go forward and you don't get rid of the obstructionists.
Yeah, like they did with Obama the first day, you know, but he still got some things done. But they said right out, didn't try to hide it. You know, who was the Mitch McConnell who said it? His job was to make sure he doesn't get a second term and doesn't get anything done during his first term. But you know, and they worked towards that. But Obama found some ways to get some things, you know, with the Affordable Care Act, which is one of his biggest projects during his term in office. But anyway, Colonel, thanks. And, you know, and I will say this, we are working on it, and real soon, you always hear us talking and we give our opinions, and we are to the left. We are working on, and we have tentatively some people that agreed to come on, hopefully before the end of the month or into our first part of October, to come on that are way to the right. Way to the right, and they're going to come on so we can have a conversation, and you'll get an opportunity to see both sides, you know, and that's what we offer. That's what we offer. That's what we want, is the opportunity to have a conversation and just listen to each other, and everybody's going to make their point, and we still might walk away feeling the same way. At least we've had that discussion. And we might find out we have more things in common than we don't. But I think it'll be a good show. And so stay tuned for the announcement for that show. And that'll be coming up soon. Yeah, we've been working on trying to get them on for a long time. And I think we're getting real close to making that happen. So stay tuned for that. And before we go, one more short video in fun from Vice President Harris. Let me hold up. Let me go back to.
Yeah, who's coming on Thursday?
Thursday it's going to be local. It's going to be Shannon Glover. Like we had the vice mayor.
What's your favorite curse word?
I can't say it. It starts with an M and it ends with.
Okay, we're in with this.
I can't say it. It starts with an M and it ends with Not ER.
What's your favorite curse word?
So if you remember the debate, it was a point in that debate where she almost said it.
Yep.
But anyway, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.